Hello and welcome to an all-new season of the Footy Form Guide podcast. I'm your host, Wally, joined as always by my mate, Harro. How are you, mate?
Yeah, going well, Wally. Pretty excited to be back for another year. What is this, third year now for Footy Form Guide?
Is it third year or fourth year? I'm losing track. I reckon it's third. It might be fourth,
third.
though. We'd have to actually have a look. That's ridiculous. We don't know that, but that's fine. It doesn't matter because we look forward. We don't look back here. So it really, really doesn't matter. It's all about what we can do this season. Look, we're still a week away from the god-awful opening round before we, of course, get into the round one of footy. But we thought we'd come together this week and just run through each team, couple of minutes on what you're looking forward to, couple of minutes on what we think we'll see this season, and then just look through the future markets and just, I guess, lay some groundwork ahead of opening round on maybe some things to look out for and what we're looking for across any future bets, mate. So I thought what we do is we'll go through alphabetically because it's easy, starting with Adelaide all the way down, of course, to the Dogs. And I'll give you a few little stats about the teams. And I said we don't look back, but I'll also tell you how they performed last year. And then we'll have a look at your thoughts and any bets that we might want to have on each team. And at the end of the episode, we'll just go through the main markets that everyone talks about, your premiership, your finals, the medals, and maybe some to stay away from there. So, mate, that sound good to you?
Sounds good, Wally. And look, I've done all this sort of stuff before. And what I've learned over the years, mate, is that, you can go through and you can work out each team's ins and outs and, you can dive right into it. But I've always found that the things that make the biggest difference, it's all behind closed doors at the club. So until you start seeing them play, and I know this from playing sport myself, it's like it doesn't matter who's in or out of the team. The biggest things is like the belief in the team, the belief in the system, how everybody's getting on, if everybody's enjoying playing sport together. They're the biggest factors, I think, in what, molds a football team and brings everyone together for success. And we won't really know that until things kick off. But we will look back at last year and see whether we think a team's trending in the right direction, whether we think they might be going backwards a little bit, and see if we can find some bets along the way.
Absolutely. All right, mate, let's get stuck. And we'll start with Adelaide. They, of course, were an 18-5 record last year. They had the minor premiership. They went out in straight sets at the hand of a very hot Hawthorn side. There you go. First mention of the Hawkies, nice and early. Their price is $13 for the flag this year. Their season win line is 14.5. Mate, let's talk Crows. How are they going to go this year? What are we looking at?
So last year, I think the Crows, obviously had a great season, but they ran out of steam late, and I think it had a lot to do with their game style. So, number 2 for contested possession, number 3 tackling side, number 1 intercept side. So I think that their overall style really is a taxing one on the body and whatnot.
Yep.
They also, allowed the 18th in contested possessions, uncontested possessions, and they allowed the 18th in marks. So they had the defensive side of their game really well down pat. But what it sort of meant, the wheels kind of fell off after about round 21, round 22, and they ran out of steam. So whether they can rectify that or not, remains to be seen. They did have like a really good year with availability, and that could always change, and it kind of looks like it is already. So I reckon they're going to run into a few extra hurdles this year, and maybe not have it all their own way like perhaps they did last year. Look, apart from that, I think the 14.5 is well set. I'm not keen to jump on the price for the flag at this stage either. So I think they're kind of well set. One thing I did have a look at was the big thrill seeker. He's $1.80 to kick 50 goals this year. He was first up off a ACL last year, and he kicked 60. And so I think that I think he's probably a guy you'd be pretty happy to have a play with. Right. They might play 2 rucks at times as well now, which will leave him forward more. He's definitely good enough to kick 50. I think a guy like him, he'd be setting the bar probably a lot higher than that. So I'd be happy to have a look around there, mate. One other guy who I think's got a lot of upside in him is Josh Rochelle. And Sportsbet have a market. AFL small forwards most goals. He's $21 to win that market. He kicked 27 in just the 14 games last year. So a full season from him could get him up around the 50, and that would be right in play for that market. Yep. And at $21, mate, I'd be happy to have a look there. But look, overall, I think the Crows, if I was a Crows fan, I'd be looking forward to this year. They should be, playing to find themselves in that top 6, which is now where you have to be. The talk always was, obviously top 8 or top 4, but now there's a little bit of a line drawn at top 6. Teams will be aiming to be in that top 6 or not, if not, hopefully top 4. So, Crows fans should be optimistic, but I don't think they're going to have it all their own way this year, perhaps like they did last year.
All right, mate. We'll move straight on to Brisbane. They obviously finished third, 16-1-6, and then they went on to win the flag in very impressive fashion. They're understandably a $5 clear favourite for the premiership. They're quite ahead of the pack. There's a lot around that $8, $9, $10 mark, but they're $5. Their season win line is 15.5. So if you think they're going to be anywhere near as good as last year, it sort of writes itself because they won 16.5 last year. The old Brisbane Bears, mate, how are we going to go?
Yeah, so, mate, I found them really difficult to bet on last year. Obviously, because that their best is, they're putting a gap on pretty much every other team. But it's when they chose to play their best. It was really hard to catch. And, mate, Wally, do you remember a premiership side that didn't have a 10-goal win throughout their whole season?
Mate, oh, no.
I don't know if it's ever happened before.
I can't even imagine like those Sydney and West Coast defensive teams in the mid-2000s. Probably not, though. I was about to say Ross Island and St Kilda, but they, of course, didn't win one. They probably still even have one. No, 10 goals, that's extraordinary.
Yeah, so they did not bury a side last year at all. And their biggest wins, they came in finals. And so they really just picked and choose when to turn up, and all they really did was throughout the whole regular season they just did enough to win, and so I'm intrigued to see whether they go about it that way again. Overall, really did find them a difficult team to bet on, but there's a few trends that the Brisbane Lions, are running back year after year. And it's really their style is so well embedded now. And I think 2 or 3 years in a row now, they've conceded, really low marks, conceded really low possessions, and their own possessions are going up year by year. So they're getting really good control of the footy. And then they just flick the switch whenever they want to get it done, they get it done. So, and look, I think unless they get really hurt by injuries, I don't mind the $5 about them to win the flag. I think that they're in as good a position as they have been for the last 2 or 3 years, and what they've been at 3 grannies in a row already. The list isn't really deteriorating. I know Zorko's like 37 now, which is amazing, but
Harro,
still going well. So
Levi Ashcroft's only going to improve. They've added Oscar Allen, which is making Morris's job easier, and then they've got a genuine second ruck coming in, like who will probably become their number one ruck.
And they've got great depth. They've got the guys that they lost are kind of expendable and can be replaced with guys like Kitty Coleman, who didn't play last year. Berry didn't play in the granny. So they've got they've just perfectly set up. And I think it's the sort of thing, Wally, I think this year that, how you might get a free bet, chuck it on the Lions for the flag, and just keep topping up throughout the year.
Bet. They're the bonus bet banker for the year, the Lions, until we see differently. There you go, Harro. And $5 is a good amount because not everyone will want to invest heavily into a $5 bet for the whole season, but I'll tell you what, bonus bets, you're not going to miss them, and they'll add up. They will add up.
Yeah, one here, Wally, which I do like, is actually $21 to go undefeated at the Gabba. So they did this in 2023 already. And I know last year they lost 4 games at the Gabba, I think, and it was a little bit uncharacteristic of them, but $21 for something that they did 2 years ago. And look, 2022, they only lost twice up there. They're a better side now than what they were then.
Yep.
I feel like that $21 is a price
Yep.
for them to do that this year. And you think that they're going to want to turn up when they play at home in front of their home fans.
Great.
So, yeah, happy to have a little play at that, mate.
Nice. There you go. All right, we'll move on to Carlton now. They were 11th last year, 9-14. Very disappointing year. They're $41 for the flag. They have made some big changes, obviously. They're going to actually have some small to medium forwards for the first time since Eddie Betts, which is great. They've got a genuine key forward, the best, or arguably the best key back in the comp, and a genuine midfield. So their line's 9.5, and I really like that. I'll say that straight off the bat. I'm in that. I took it at 8.5. I'd be happy to take it again at 9.5. I think the baggers will improve. How do you see their season going?
Yeah, so look, I see a lot of upside in their performance from last year. So, I think they were the fourth most impacted by injuries last year. So, and they still won 9 games. So if that improves with the better depth which they've added this year, I can't see why they don't go 1 win better to claim that bet.
Right?
Which we've just talked about. So I feel like the group as well, it really did need a bit of a freshen up. And, I think they've brought in 6 or 7 established players, and they've moved on a few guys that weren't working out so well. Like Charlie didn't really work out for him last year. TDK didn't work out for him last year after about round 5. Although they're big names, I can see that the Blues are going to really improve just from freshening the group up, getting a fresh start, and getting some guys in that are fit and hungry as well. And I'm quite keen on that over-under line, Wally. I think the Blues can cover that. Right. Their fixture looks okay. Yeah, so and I just think it all lines up a lot better for them this year. So happy to play that. And also, Wally, a fully fit Sam Walsh, which is looking like what they're going to get. And he's $51 for the Brownlow.
Wow.
And I think you just got to think back to the last time he got a full season into him, and in good fitness, he got 30 votes. And I think he's going to be leading the midfield this year, maybe with Cripper spending a bit more time forward. Okay. And I think the $50 about Walshy, I think you're going to get a run for your money. The Brownlow this year, I'm not going to get involved in short odds stuff. The volatility in it, is high. But, something like a Walsh, he's the right type of player, $51. I think happy to have a look there. Jagger Smith for Rising Star just looks an obvious play, but he's $2.75. So happy to give that probably a bit of a wide berth. But you're right.
Yeah, so you're leaving that one alone?
Yeah, leaving that one alone, mate.
Great. All right, mate. Perfect. So we're going to go Walsh at the $51. We're both on the Blues over line, 9.5. I'm with you. Like one more win, I see it coming. Really excited. I reckon everyone forgets also. The other thing is everyone forgets a year ago before Dean Cox in and sort of changed how he played Foreign. Everyone would have said Foreign's such a good pickup. It's a good user of the ball, which they need. Run along the wing and halfback. I actually like it, and also it solves the what are we doing with the 2 key forwards. Now you know because one of them's gone. So it's not all doom and gloom losing Curnow. They actually have added some great pieces. Ainsworth as well is a very exciting forward. All right, mate. We'll go to Collingwood. 18-5. Not 18-5. Collingwood. Sorry, Collingwood currently at $18 for the flag. The line is 13.5. They, of course, finished top 4 last year, finished 4th, got the win over Adelaide, and then made it to a prelim, and then obviously lost there. So 13.5 is an interesting line, Harro.
Yeah, I mean, we had a lot of success opposing Collingwood in the back half of last year, and they were being rated like a top 4 side when the reality was from about, I think, round 12 onwards, they were just a middling type team. And they did recover a bit late, but I think that win against the Crows were cactus at that point. So I'm not taking, a huge amount out of that. I'm pretty bearish on the Pies, mate. I think I made that known at the end of last year, and I haven't really changed my position on that. Obviously, the list is, in in pretty bad shape, in my opinion, with a lot of guys nearing the end, and they haven't been drafting good young players for quite a while now. So I think that this is finally gonna hit home for the Pies this year, mate. And any sort of market that you could find, which is at long odds with the Pies having a big fall from grace and potentially finishing in the bottom six or something like that. I think they're right in play. I think if they make a bad start and finals get out of calculation, they're going to have to play a bunch of these guys who haven't really played a lot before. So I just don't see where the upside's coming from the Pies. Like, name me a good young Pies player that's going to elevate them.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree. I think Nick Dacos is the best player in the comp, and then I think that there is a genuine gap. They've got some other All Australians or former star power. They've got a couple of X factors, but the problem is that where are their goals going to come from? Jamie Elliott can't do it all. Bobby Hill's likely not going to play a lot of footy. Brody Myercheck's gone. Daniel McStay's body doesn't necessarily hold up. Like, I look at this Schultz, I rate him. I reckon he's a fantastic small forward, but he is not the guy that comes and kicks 50, 60 goals as a small. He's the guy that applies the pressure, runs both ways. So I look at it. I've been a big fan of the Pies for a number of years now. I definitely don't hate on them. I like a lot of what they've done. I think that the way they won their flag was incredible. But I think that now is where they'll have their dip. They'll be back. They always are. They're the biggest club in the land. But I'm with you. I think that this is where we see the dip for a season or two. Might be a few because they haven't drafted in a whole heap of really strong youth. But we'll wait and see, Harro. But I think that 13.5 is just a bridge too far. And then we'll, as you said, keep an eye out there for the bottom six or whatever it is, miss markets. Any miss markets at a good price are worth having a look at.
Yeah, agreed, Wally.
All right.
So, yeah. I don't know about the Nick Dacos best player in the comp call, Wally. I mean, I don't think the Brisbane Lions players were too frightened of him when they were standing in front of him. They just ran straight over the top.
It's hard, mate. Oh, don't get me wrong. Bond's right up there as well. Bond's right up there as well. I know what you're saying. There's a few, but he's in the discussion.
I love this conversation.
Yeah, we won't go into it. We are on polar opposites this one. And that is fine. I'll tell you what, it's not, though. It's not Sam Darcy yet. And I keep seeing this number one on lists. He might be the best prospect. I get that. But there's no way he's number one at the moment. I think it's Bont or Dacos. Right, honestly. But anyway, we'll go to Essendon. Essendon 6-17 last year. Disastrous year. A lot of that was hit by huge injuries, and there's other reasons. The Zach Merritt debacle in the off-season, who knows how that comes out. They're $81 for the flag. That's not going to be an issue. There's 7.5 wins is their line, which seems low for a team that have played some decent footy and have always looked like a final side over the last few years at some point. But last year, and I just don't see where all the improvement's going to come from. Look, I don't know. Maybe if they can get fit, but I feel like Essendon's always got injury concerns.
Oh, look, that last year I felt was one out of the box in terms of injuries. They were pretty bloody hard hit. So I don't think they can have anything like that reoccur this year. So I agree with you, Wally. I think the 7.5 wins is too low. Look, the Bombers last year, they were actually a great side to bet on in terms of all the disposal markets. They were high disposal, and they were also conceding the second most in the comp. That did change in the back 6 or 8 games. So I'll be watching them really carefully early from a disposal point of view, whether they're going to maintain that really high possession game and conceding high as well, or whether they've changed things up over the off-season. But I just think based on purely on having much better availability this year that they're going to surpass that 7.5 wins. I mean, they had 6 last year with a shocking, run. And I went through the fixture actually, and I actually figured out that if things go reasonably well for them, they could end up with 12 wins.
Wow.
That's not out of the possibility. There's like enough games there where they're, a chance to win, and the way the fixture lines up, that they could, if it goes well, they could get up to 12 wins. And so that's 7.5 when I think they've got about 14 winnable games. It looks pretty good to me. So happy to have a play there. as much as I don't really enjoy barracking for the Bombers, I think
No,
they'll
fair
probably
enough.
get that 8 wins.
There you go. All right, I tend to agree there. All right, Freo's next. Last year they were sixth. They had 16-7 record. They earned the home final. They did the hard work on the road to get it, and then they lost it to the Gold Coast. We know that. They're $15 for the flag. Their season wing line is 14.5, which I really like because I'm not expecting them to go backwards. The only thing is this is Western Bulldogs territory. These are the same things. It's every year we talk about how this team's going to make the step, how good they are. Look at the midfield. Look at the list. 16-7. It's a good record. 6. They get a home final. They just find a way to lose in the last round or in the finals. And it's just so I love the wing line, but it's pretty hard to have a premiership bet on them.
Look, Wally, I think what people are not understanding that is, yes, 2 years ago they missed finals in the last game of the round. They were the second youngest side in the comp that year. Last year they were also quite young, I think the fourth or fifth youngest side in the comp. They are just getting better and better. And, to put the season together that they had last year, still being so young, with, I think, their best player, Hayden Young, missing pretty much the whole year, he looks like he's back and he's fit. I'm so bullish on Freo, mate. So bullish on him. I love that line. I love the premiership price. I like them to win the minor premiership. I think is a good bet. Now, one thing that people wouldn't understand, Wally, they made a really slow start to last year. And the reason for this was they had some huge changes in game plan last year compared to the year before. So the year before, they were a very controlled team. And after round 9 last year, so from round 9 onwards, they lost 3 games. They lost to the Swans when they got all their good players back at the SCG. They lost to the Brisbane Lions when Brisbane needed to win to make the top 4. And they lost the final to the Suns where they had 6 more scoring shots. I think that these guys are just perfectly set up to go on a big run this year. Look, they look healthy. Everything's set up. They've got great players on every line. And I'm really keen on Freo to start better this year without having made a bunch of game plan changes. They've bettered those game plan changes in, and I think that they'll get off to a positive start and they'll kick on with it.
All right, so I'll give you their first 7 games. They got Geelong away, win or lose. Geelong in Geelong.
I always like to oppose the team who played in the granny the year before in round 1.
And Freo can win down there. We've seen it.
I'll be tipping Freo in that.
They get Melbourne and then Richmond at home. We're tipping them to win both of those. They will win both of those. Adelaide away.
That's probably going to be a tough one, but not insurmountable.
Collingwood, but it's at Adelaide because it's a gather round, so they should win that.
Yeah.
And then the West Coast Eagles in the derby and then Carlton at home. So they should be 6-1, you reckon?
Well, yeah, I think, but let's have a look, Wally. There's got to be markets to be undefeated at round X and whatnot, doesn't there? Can we find them on the run?
The only two for me, the Adelaide away and then the Geelong away to start. I think they could win both, but they could win either of them. Are they going to win both of them plus the other 5? Undefeated at round 6.
Here we go. Yeah, last team undefeated, $11. Undefeated at round 6, $15. I kind of like those. I think if they can get past Geelong in round 1, they're going to be, really into that. So, yeah, there's one way to look at it.
There you go. Okay, so there's me saying, don't know if I'd have a bet on Freo for the flag, and Harrow's just gone, no. That is the one to get around. All right, Geelong's next. Finished second, 17-6. This is what they do. They're a good footy side. They're a good footy club. They make finals. They lost the grand final. Look, Brisbane just flexed. Brisbane just flexed. The Jeremy Cameron injury didn't happen. Obviously, Danger just wasn't at the level he was in the prelim. Everything seemed to start going wrong across the day. Their win line this year is 15.5 wins. For them, that just feels like what they do. So that means they've got to win 16, and the record has to be 16-7. So you're allowed 7 losses, which is a lot. What do you think, mate? On the flag, sorry, $10 the flag. they're in that group with Hawthorn and Gold Coast and Sydney and all those others, the peloton.
Yeah, I think Geelong, they just had a golden run in 2025 and they couldn't get it done on the biggest day of the year, basically. And so I think if they can't get it done with everything going right, then I'm not interested in the $10 for them to win the flag, because you're relying on them improving on a season where everything kind of went right for them, in my view. So where I really like playing in Cats games, mate, and I'll be looking to run this back again, they were, and especially early in the season, they were just a great team to back the over total points. I think it was 20 games made up over 170 last year, and 9 games made up over 195. So their style, whatever it was about that, just was highly conducive to high scoring and pretty good to watch too. So there wasn't too many, games that you're watching in Cats being low sort of dour affairs. And with that 20 games over 170, by the time you take out the few wet games that they played in, like they have their annual wet game against Brisbane early, it happens every freaking year. You take out the few wet games, it was like barely any results that made up under that 170. Right. So, I don't think this is, and they're not going to be looking to change too much, are they? I mean, look, they did so much right last year. Why would they be making too many changes? And I feel like the best angle, especially early in the season when scoring's high anyway, is to be looking to back the overs in Cats games. So I'm pretty keen on this angle.
Yeah, one in particular is that the opening round game against Gold Coast Suns. Like, you could just see that being an absolute goal fest. That feels like a 200-point game to me. Like that because Gold Coast score at will, we know that, and they have played in some really high scoring matches too. So anyway, their start's interesting because you got Suns, Freo, Adelaide, and Hawks just to kick you off for the first 4. So there's no.
Well, actually, I did read
4-0, I think it was 4-2-2.
It was a Fox Footy article written a little while ago that they've actually got the hardest fixture this year, apparently. I mean, I haven't been through it forensically to work out whether that's true or not. No, I know. So they've gone from having just about the easiest last year to the hardest this year. So, look, there might be a few more things against the Cats this year. And Jeremy already, carrying a bit of an injury. Stengel not going to be around. So, I don't think they'll have it all their own way. A little bit like the Crows, who had a great run last year as well. You just don't expect to get those easy sort of leg ups, and I feel like the Cats will probably find it. I'm not that interested at the line though. I'm more happy to play these guys in their games individually, and also, as I said before, finding some angles to be against them in the early rounds. They've had the shorter preseason, everything like that, coming off a big grand final loss. There could be some nice opportunities to oppose them early.
Okay, I've got a call out here. I reckon that you're right in terms of the early stuff. Hold early. I'm going to give you their finish here, and there's method above this. This is their finish. Their last games are Richmond, North Melbourne, Essendon, Collingwood, Melbourne, St Kilda and Giants in there. So this could be one where they do have a toughish start and you're looking around halfway and you're getting a price for them to climb the ladder. So I'm just saying, look at that back-end draw. There is going to be a lot of wins late for them. They could win 5 or 6 straight late. So just keep an eye on that. I know that's a big call out. There's a lot of water to go under the bridge, but I like looking at that sort of stuff. All right, mate. The next team, which could be the best team in it, they could be. We just don't know. They've just added another A-grader to their midfield. Talking about Gold Coast. I mean, that midfield, the forward line score at will. Just that back line's the only thing that worries me a little come finals. They were 15-8 last year. They won their first final. Such a step forward. The flag price is $9. Sorry. Their wing line is big, but they won 15 games last year. They've got to be a game better this year. It's 15.5. I love the Suns this year. I just think that they just set up so well, and that midfield is scary.
I don't know if people are understanding how big of a recruit Christian Petrarca is.
Oh, mate, he's and then when you're the third mid and you're going to spend time forward, are you kidding me? You can rotate him and Took Miller through the midfield. Humphries can go in there as well. Like, I'm sorry. Like, it's insane. Then you got King and Walter down forward. You got Long as well. Mate, that forward half of the ground is frightening.
Yeah. No, very true, Wall. And look, they're right in it now. And I think Hardwick, I think he probably was aiming towards having a real crack at it this year. And when he first came on board, he probably knew it wasn't going to happen in the first year or so. He's added some halfbacks last year. And they're getting some natural growth from their young players. And they've had a bunch of those academy guys now who are into their second or third year. They've drafted really well in the recent years. And I think that, they're going to be, they'll be beating that 15.5 line, Wally, and they're going to be right in this at the pointy end. I don't know whether they're going to be able to do it, but I wonder if, as I was saying before, with Brisbane undefeated at home, I like the Suns as well to do this as well, and they're $15. They've already had a great record at home over the last few years, and so I'd be happy to have a look at that. $15 for the Suns to go undefeated at home. It's a pretty tough trip. The conditions can be, a little bit different for opposition sides and whatnot. And so happy to have a look at that, Wally, because I think that you're going to get a pretty good run for your money.
Okay, they're $4.60 for the last undefeated side, but they're $5.20 to be the undefeated at round 6. So they have Geelong at home. I think they win that in the opening round. There's no issue there. They have Geelong at home. They've got the Sun. They've got the Eagles, the Tigers. They've got Melbourne. Essendon's in round 6. The only one is that they play Sydney in round 5, and I think the Swans are going to be good, but they play them at Norwood. Right. It's a neutral venue. So if you think that they'll beat the Swans, I reckon they're beating the rest of them. They're $5.20. I actually prefer that price than the last undefeated because I think another team could run through. You're getting a little bit of a bigger price. It's $5.20 for them, I feel, like to beat Geelong and Sydney because they're winning the other games. Anyway, that's one for me.
No, I don't mind it, Wally.
So that was $5.20. And you could shop around. There might be better prices. All right, let's move on to GWS. To talk about Essendon's injuries last year, I'm trying to remember a team that's going in with more key injuries leading into opening round than these guys. They have had a shocking run, and there's a lot of unknowns. But the bottom line is the likelihood is they're going to go in without Green, Kelly, Callaghan, Taylor, and Jones. There's going to be heaps. Their line is 12.5 wins now. It was higher. It's come down to 12.5. Their flag price is out to $21. They were 5th last year, lost to the Hawks in the elimination final at home. I love the Giants, Harry. You know that, but I'm genuinely worried for them this season.
Imagine being a Giant. I know there's not many of them. Imagine being a Giants fan and this is your injury list. Like, you'd just be like, can we just fast forward to 2027 already? Sometimes it's just not fair, is it? And they've absolutely copped it. I wouldn't be tying up money for these, 12.5 win type bets, but, I just love Hawthorn's price, or line or whatnot early. They're going to be, that these guys are out early. And I think, what is it, a 10-point line?
Something like that.
I think the Hawks beat them by 18 or so in the last game they played last year. So, and you go through the two sides, Hawthorn will be lining up basically the same. And the Giants are going to have, you add it all up, that's probably half their salary cap out of the team. Come round, whatever they're calling it. Is it round 1 or round 0? I don't even know.
Opening round.
So, I just feel for the Giants, and there's just no real way you can get involved with anything apart from wanting to oppose them, and especially oppose them early. Like their coach, like their list and whatnot. They've got heaps of good players, but how can you go into a season with arguably 6 of your best sort of 8 players out and whatnot? What I will find interesting is actually the disposable bets, especially a Green not being there. He's that first hit to midfielder and great accumulator and whatnot. We see Oliver steps in there. I think he had 30 already in that first scratch match, whatever they played. I kind of like that. And then, and maybe there's going to be some more sort of heralded guys who might step in there and as well, and you might be able to find a price about them just because it's going to have a completely new look to it. Also, Bedford not being there, we don't have to worry about the tagger, so it's going to make things a little bit easier, backing opposition type players. So, one I was looking for.
Roland, is it Tom Roland or Rowland? He spent
Yeah.
midfield time last year. He'll need to come in because the likelihood is we know Tom Green's out, but Finn Callan's probably not playing an open round either.
Yeah, and he's a massive out. He's such a good player.
Yeah. So, and there's no Kelly. There's no, literally, I don't know what they're going to do, but
no,
mate, there'll be options. We'll talk about that more next week, obviously in the preview. But Giants, hard to have a bet on them this season at this stage, I would have thought.
Yeah, one bet is Clayton Oliver. If he's right, I was looking for a market most handballs, but it's not. They don't have one, but. He's going to be taking the full load in there, and he's $41 to have the, most disposals per game. That could be something worth having a look at. It's going to be pretty tight, that market. And I think that he now becomes the main guy in there and takes basically all Tom Green's possessions. So if he's right, if his body and mind are right, then he could have a run in that market.
Too easy. All right, mate. We'll go to the Hawks. 15-8 last year, won 2 finals, then got pumped by the Cats in the prelim, as we know. They're $9 for the flag, so they're in that Peloton group as well. Their line is 14.5. They're $9 for the flag, and we're just asking them to do what they did last year. The draw is friendlier than last year, starting without major injuries outside of Will Day, but we've become accustomed to that. No real additions because Zach Merritt stayed at Essendon. Am I crazy to think this line is actually just perfect for betting on? Well, I just maybe there's a level of bias. I know it's set okay, but I don't see a world in which Hawthorn don't win 15 games. I just don't.
No, I agree. I think that they'll win 15 games. So, yeah, I'd be happy to play that. Hawthorn, I think they're the best coach side. I know, Sam Mitchell hasn't got any silverware to his name yet, but I went and watched a game of footy last year. I can't remember who they played, but they just look so well organised, and I feel like that the Hawks they get a lot of advantage out of the coach's box basically, and that's a big advantage. So I feel like the Hawks will win some games tactically that maybe other sides don't win. They're getting, their early fixture looks good. They're going to, definitely going to get the Giants at the right time. And just based on what they've done the last couple of years, I can't see them at least maintaining that level. What I am interested about, though, Wally, is how they're going to manage this midfield without Will Day. A lot of talk that, there's some new guys going through there. And I think that they do need to add a bit of creativity, a bit of flair. And so, it's whether they do, go with a Weddle or a McDonald or these types of guys through the middle to give them a bit of a different look because obviously, and they know it, I think everybody knows it, that, they're just a good midfielder short when it comes to competing for the flag, basically.
Yep. So I think what will happen is that we will see Cam McKenzie and Josh Ward play more consistent time within the midfield. Obviously, John Newcombe will be 98% of CBAs. And then I think we will see a combination of Dylan Moore, the Wiz, and Weddle going through there. And then we'll see, hopefully, Hustwaite plays more football, and we'll see what happens. But we haven't had, we've had 2 years without it. We haven't had, like, a strong midfield. Like, Will Day hasn't played in either of these finals campaigns previously. I mean, we get Warple out of there, which is good. Like that means that we're obviously going to less costly in terms of turnovers and usage. I think that that's a positive because what it does is it gives it more opportunity to a McKenzie, to a Hustwaite, to a Ward. So I'm happy with that. I think that was a good out. I think that the shame is that we don't have Merritt coming in. If we had Merritt, we'd be second. We'd be $6, I reckon, behind Brisbane. Because he is absolutely
would make a big difference, but
huge difference. Anyway, we'll wait and see. But, mate, over 15.5, I agree with you. I might have something for the Brownlow. We'll get to that later. All right, Melbourne. D's. They were 7-16 last year in 14th. Their line's 8.5 this year, and then they lost Petrarca and Oliver. So You tell me why I'd be taking an over 8.5 point line about the D's.
Yeah, well, I feel like the D's, they're in a transitional year this year. So obviously new coach, bunch of new players, and I feel like that they're going to maybe struggle a bit early, but then we're going to see them improving as they bet in what is going to be a completely new game style.
Mm.
And I actually think they're going to benefit from having a new game style. I didn't like the way that they played under Goody, especially in the last couple of years. And I reckon if you talk to Demons fans, they didn't really rate their style either. And even the players have said that it's going to be really refreshing to be able to take the Goody handbrake off, basically, and be able to play with a bit more freedom. Their game style was yuck, I think, last year, especially last year. But even the last few years, ever since they won that flag, they just weren't the same. And so I think that the D's, they might have a slow start to the season and it might look a bit off while they're getting used to this. But I think that we could see them get on a bit of a run in the back half of the season as guys are getting used to their new roles and the team overall start to gel. So that's kind of how I see the D's. I don't have a huge opinion on that 8.5 wins. I actually like their list. I think they've got lots of good young players and whatnot who are now going to get some opportunity. And I really will be like watching their scratch matches and this match that's coming up this week to work out who's going to fill those roles that have been left vacant by, like Viney's not even going to be there, but Oliver as well as Petraka. They're going to have a whole new look midfield, and there's going to be opportunities if you can pick up on who the guys are that are going to pick up on those disposals, and there'll be some bets based around that. I also think like they've been a stodgy type scoring team. And I think the new coach is going to install a little bit more open game style. And I think the over total points is going to be something that's going to come into play in Demons matches, especially early. And we see this every year, Wally, with the early scoring, with the coaches not under too much pressure in the first sort of 5 rounds. Often we get good scoring and good weather and all that sort of stuff. So looking for a completely new look Melbourne this year. It's going to be interesting to see how they go. We're not really going to know until we see it out on the park.
All right. Just whip through here. North Melbourne, they were 5-1-17. They're 100-1 for the flag, which is unders. The season line is 7.5. This is I'm tired from years and years of these young guns coming in and we're improving. They're not improving. Harro, they're actually not improving. They don't win games of footy. And like, I think as good as Clarkson was for the Hawks and one of the greatest decade runs any coach will ever have, reinvented the team and the game plan 3 times or reinvented it twice. We saw 3 different styles, won 4 flags, went to half a dozen prelims, 5 grand finals. Like, it was great. We're not seeing that anymore in this. And I think it's a combination of 2 things. I don't think it's a coach thing. I don't think it's a talent thing. I think it's a combination of both things. But it is fatiguing how long this is taking.
Hey, Wally, do you want to know a couple of teams that are going to start 2026 younger than North Melbourne?
Yep.
Hawthorn.
That's scary.
Fremantle. Gold Coast are all starting 2026. Younger than North Melbourne. So there is no more excuses for being young. I'm not copping
that's out the window.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is in games, average games played. North Melbourne.
That's experience, right? That's what we're talking about.
Yeah. So no more excuses. They have the 3rd most top 10 draft picks, on their list out of any club. So the talent's there. The experience isn't so much of an excuse anymore. And they have to improve. They've got a great ruckman. And I think the case for optimism is this, Wally. You go through their improvement. It wasn't really in wins and losses in 2025, but they, in so many different markers, they really improved. So disposal differential, they went from 12th to 5th. Clearance differential, they went from 11th to 6th. They went from shots per inside 50 entry, they went from 18th to 10th. There were a lot of things that you probably have to look a bit deeper into to find that they actually did improve in 2024 to 2025. It needs to go to another level now, and I really hope and I really want it to happen for them. So we'll have to see what happens, mate. But if I had to bet, I'd be betting on the over that line.
If you don't have to bet, is there any bet you're having on them, or are you just leaving it alone?
No, I'm not that keen on. I'm not that keen on it, to be honest.
Okay.
I wouldn't mind. I could potentially have something if you could find something at long odds for him to make like the top 10 or something like that. Because once it clicks, it could just all come together, and I really hope it does for their sake. One guy I really want to find a way to bet on is Sheasel. I think he's going to play a lot more midfield minutes this year, but he gets the footy wherever he goes. I love the guy. I think he's a fantastic player. I'm not sure he could win a Brownlow or anything like that. But
$4 for all Australian, is that?
Hey, I don't mind that. That's something you could definitely have a look at. He's got elite disposal. He's actually puts his body on the line quite well for a guy his size as well. Really like the way he plays. He's an intelligent footballer. So, yeah, he's a guy, if I was a North fan, I'd definitely pay to go just to watch him play.
All right, and if you think they can make the top 10, you're getting $7.
Yeah, okay. They could give you a run.
Top 10, you're getting $7. But we'll go. So she's for all AA at $4. Done. All right, mate. Yeah. We'll get on to Port Adelaide now. 9-13 last year. They were 13th. They're $51 for the flag. Their season win line this year is 9.5. They have a really friendly start to the season. So you just got to think, do they have one game better year this year with a new coach who's not really a new coach because they had two coaches last year, let's be honest. Yeah, mate, this is an interesting one. I thought at first, but I think they're pretty good with injury. I know that they've had a couple of recent ones that have gone out, but 9.5, I mean, they can find another win, can't they?
Yeah, I think they can. I think last year, I just hated what they did last year. Like walking into a dressing room knowing that your coach isn't going to be there at the end of the year. I think it showed too, because how many games did they just give up in? Like they literally were the team that just gave up once it got a little bit too hard. And I don't think you do that if you've got, you don't have that dynamic where the coach is on the way out. So I feel like they come into this year probably better, just removing that whole dynamic about the coach not being around. So I feel like there should be some improvement there. They are one team that I'm struggling to get a really good read on, though. So we'll have to probably wait and see how it looks when they get out there. But they've got some, enough good players. If they can stay injury-free, I don't think they'll be making any real run at, top sort of 6. But I'm also interested to see the new coach, the changes in game style. And look, they often open up great opportunities. Like they are going to look different. The same with the Ds. They're going to look different. And it's going to open up opportunities, whether it's disposal markets, total points markets, all this sort of thing. These are the sides I'm going to be watching really closely in these opening practice matches, opening rounds, because there will be some big changes in trends and whatnot, and that we'll be able to pick up on, hopefully, and find some really good bets that the market aren't onto yet. So this is where those big changes in dynamics can be really, good for the punter. So that's what we'll be looking at. I'm not too, excited about having any bets on their long-term sort of markets, but we're going to watch them closely early and see what we can find.
Absolutely. I'll go to Richmond. They won 5 games last year, finished 17th. They're 151 for the flag. That doesn't matter. But their line's 4.5. If you gave me any of the young teams, any of these bottom team scenarios, including Melbourne, including Essendon, including Port, I'm taking Richmond every day of the week. I'm taking Richmond at just about anybody in the bottom half. They have a garage full of Ferraris, as King has said. And, mate, let's be honest, they've got so many on that. The Sams now are ridiculous. The Sam Cumming, Grill, Lawler. Then you've got Smiley and Taj Houghton. The different people have said are like the best in the draft, and then just went. if it all comes together for this team, it's going to be incredible. If I was Zach Butters, I would be calling my manager and saying, I want to go to Punt Road. They will still have the draft capital to get it done. I want to go and play with this team. That's what I would be doing. 4.5 for me is a gift. There is no way they don't improve this year.
Yeah. No, I agree. Hey, I was so shuddered yesterday when the news came through about Houghton being injured. Probably going to miss.
He's going to miss a chunk. But that's it, mate. These are the things, though, is that you just as a Richmond supporter need to be able to go, it's okay. This is a long-term thing. This is going to be the next 3 or 4 years, and we're going to improve. So it's okay. You can't let the little – because they're going to happen, mate. These are going to happen, but they've got so many of these.
He's just the guy I was really looking forward to watching this year.
I'm with you. I really want to see Smiley play. That was the one.
Yeah.
But Taj Houghton he's going to be a star.
Oh, mate. Really like the look of their young players. They're just exciting. I'd be so pumped if I was a Richmond fan with the future. Obviously, you've just had your 3 flags. So, well done. But you're going to probably get on another run, I reckon, in the next decade. So it's just going to take a little while. But look, I think that 4.5 wins, please. I've taken that all day long. So happy to play with that. And I really like their style that they played last year, mate. They were a great team to bet disposals and whatnot on. I think they conceded the most in the comp. And they just went about playing their own brand of footy, didn't put too much work into the opposition. And so, you can see what they're focused on. And, they were allowing a lot of the footy. And so you could bet really confidently, especially the best players. Like they wouldn't almost deliberately, they wouldn't put a lot of work into the best. And so you could get a Zach Butters and really confidently go, he's going to have 35 today, knowing that he gets a lot more attention every other week. So, we'll be watching to see if they have the same approach this year. But I think the 4.5 wins. They also had a bad year with injury last year, and they're probably going to have a better run with injury this year. And I think, I'm keen to watch the Tigers. Love the way they go about it.
Yep, same. All right, mate, we go to the Saints. They've been shopping. They've added 4 really good pieces. I think that you can talk about the standout of those 4 being TDK, but I think Silvani's great, and I think that Liam Ryan's an underrated addition. Great user of the footy, one of the better field kicks. And then Flanders, we forget, again, Flanders did a year ago an absolute disposal machine, can run through the midfield, can play off half-back, can do whatever you need to do, and then came out of the Gold Coast game plan. It was like Ollie Foran we spoke about earlier in Sydney. So I think that the pieces they've added are really good. They've already got some great pieces there. It's just about the development level of the next, going through to the next level. So I'm fascinated by this. I can't wait for the opening game that they play against Collingwood. That's going to be great. I'm looking forward to the Saints this year. They were 9-14 last year. I just put it on. We are talking about a completely different outfit. They're $18 for the flag. Their season win line. There's not many teams that jump 3.5 from last year, but that is how different this team is 12.5. So 13 wins would put them right in that spot for the 10. You're probably going to get in. I mean, we saw some crazy things last year with teams winning like 13.5, 14 games and missing the 8. So, mate, are you a believer yet in what the Saints are doing? That's the first thing.
Well, I'll tell you who I am a believer in is Ross Lyon. His teams always play above their ability. And I expect that will not change. And they've now got a fair bit more ability. I tell you what, Wally, I know we'll probably talk about this later, but a few changes to the way the umpires are going to do the Brownlow this year. And it might be that the guys who are higher possession players maybe do a little bit better. Sam Flanders, $101 for the Brownlow. I know people might laugh at that and think Sam Flanders isn't winning a Brownlow. But, nobody probably saw a Matthew Priddis winning the Brownlow either. And I feel like he's actually a good chance to have the most disposals in the comp. He's an absolute piggy when he's allowed to play in that role. And the Saints aren't going to bring him across. He just didn't fit into the Gold Coast plans last year. And so I think last year was a complete write-off. So you have to really look back to when he was getting that role, what he's going to get in the Saints side. And, mate, nobody got the footy more than him, really, I think, when he had that role, and he's going to get it now at the Saints. And so finding a bet on him, if I can find these, like the fantasy leaders.
Most disposed would be the one for him. And and I'll tell you right now, I'll get that up while you continue, but you'll get a big price for him.
Yeah. And so I'd take, I'd have a little flutter on the 101 for the Brownlow, the disposal leader. The
$15
here he is. He's AFL fantasy per game leader in the forwards category is $5. He probably Sheasel's maybe his main competition in that one, but so that's where I'm looking. The Saints, I expect a pretty competitive year. I probably think that they'll be making that top 10 for sure. A lot of faith in what Ross Lyon's doing, and again, like bringing in all these new players, it brings that enthusiasm, brings the fans back. I think that I like them in round one against the Pies. I think that they'll get the job done there. They'll get some momentum after that. And, I think Saints fans will be really looking forward to this season. Plenty of reasons to be optimistic. It may take a little while for these parts to all gel together, but, I don't see them challenging for the flag really, but I could see them making finals definitely. And, and causing some upsets along the way.
Top 10's $1.53, so probably a no bet for the season, but shows that the market is also confident that they will be in there. Sydney, they've done what they need to do. They've added a key forward. They've needed to do this for a long time. They've obviously got some genuine superstars up there. They were 12-11 and finished 10th last year. So won 12 games, finished 10th. Arguably the best team that missed. Flag this year's $10. The line is 14.5. I like this one. I think Sydney will be a lot better. I jokingly said on a Spears Mother podcast that Sydney look on track to lose another grand final by 10 goals, because that's kind of when they're having their better years, they end up in a grand final and just find one better. But I quite like that. I'm interested to hear your thoughts on the Swannies though.
Well, I think the market's onto it. It just looks like the absolute classic big bounce back off a poor year. Having been, the best home and away side the year before, I can't see why they don't return. Second year under Dean Cox. Last year they started the season with a horrible injury list. And when they got their players back, they got a lot of their players back in the second half of the year. They actually beat Brisbane, at the Gabba round 22. Brisbane needed to win that. They weren't not trying that day for whatever reason. And the Swans were good enough to beat them at that stage of the year. They also beat Fremantle in a big game, round 17. We know Fremantle a good side last year. And so this is when they got their players back, what they looked like. And now they're going to start a season fully fit, with obviously some good recruits, which everybody knows about. And so there's, I don't see any world where the Swans aren't bouncing right back up and probably top four. If you go back, 2 seasons, which is where you kind of expect them to revert back to, potentially even going, beyond that sort of level. What did they have? They had, just loading, mate. 17 wins. 2 seasons ago. And what did you say their line is now, Wally?
14.5.
Yeah, I think that 14.5
still juicy, but I think they cover it.
Yeah, I think they cover it for sure. Which means they're probably finishing top 4. So, very, very bullish on the Swans, as everybody is. I mean, I think it's a real obvious one. Everybody's kind of onto it, but they're going to be really good this year. And also, people forget Errol Goulden, how good this guy is. I mean, they didn't have him for a long time, at the start of the year last year. And when he came back into the side, he made an immediate impact. And so, have also Heaney as well, mate. How much is he going to have Charlie having, a bit of pressure taking off Heaney? He can be kicking the ball to Charlie and Logan McDonald, he's like a new recruit too. He didn't play last year, basically. So much upside for the Swannies. based on what they did last year compared to how they're coming into this season this year.
Chad Warner will have a big year too, mate. Mark my words. He's not spoken about enough. You see him when he's playing in that State of Origin game. And I know everyone's running around. It's an exhibition game, but you just see how much he features among the game's best when he's actually playing alongside and against the best. I think he's just a bit underrated, and we'll see more good footy from him this year. We're nearly through these, mate. West Coast, we can whip through this one, I reckon. $151 for the flag. The line is 3.1. They won one game last year and, of course, won the Spoon. 3.5 wins, Harro.
Well, very hard not to improve when you're starting from such a low base. I'm just looking forward to watching Harley Reid this year. All the reports coming out, Harley Reid is about to make his mark on the comp. I don't know, does he have a contract coming up soon? Because it's funny how players
2
can
years,
just
seem 2 more.
Oh, okay, rightio, right.
Well, he looks like he's 27 will be his contract.
Righto, yeah. Well, he's the main reason I'll be watching West Coast games this year. Really excited to see how he goes because he's obviously an absolute star in the making. West Coast will improve. They probably 4 wins is not many, is it? Really, you just got to get a couple of sides that are a little bit off their tucker, or there's going to be a side that has a really bad run with injuries. They pick up another couple. So. I could definitely see them surpassing. Was it the 3.5 wins? I think that they probably do that, and they should start improving now. I think that their coach is good, but he's unproven at this point. But yeah, West Coast, they're not going to be having a big say on this season. But I'm looking forward to watching a couple of their individual players how they go.
Great. All right, mate. Just before we go to the Dogs too, I was wrong there. He signed a 2-year extension, but he actually had 1 year to go. So it's to the end of 28. So he's got 3 more years at the club. It was a 2-year extension, but that takes him until the end of the 2028 season. All right, Western Bulldogs. They were 9th last year. They won 14 games. They finished 9th. I mean, that is extraordinary. I don't know if we'll see that happen again, but this year, of course, they would be in the play-in. Or the wild card. They're $15 for the flag, and their line's 13.5. I mean, I don't see them going backwards, so I quite like this line.
Yeah. Obviously, the Dogs were great for playing a little bit like Geelong, the over total points last year. So I'll be interested to see what changes they've made because obviously, they're going to have been putting a lot more emphasis into defense, I would have thought, over the off-season. So because that's where they become unstuck. And especially against the better sides, you really can't compete without having, a strong defense. So whether that trend of the higher scoring, continues, it kind of does suit them because they've got so much firepower up front. But it's just whether, what tweaks they've made in the off-season to see whether that sort of trend continues or not. Obviously, it's the depth, I think, is the problem for the Doggies and their back line. So I think they know it, and it's just whether they've been good enough to turn that around. I see them, similar to last year, they're going to be competing for that top 6, and it's just going to come down to a few games, against those teams in their pocket, whether they can push above, and play into that top 6 or not. So another team I'm looking forward to watching, see how they go. I'll tell you what I would love, Wally. I would love to see Bont win the Brownlow. I think this guy...
wouldn't we all?
He just needs that on his CV to round it off, I feel like. He's just everybody's favourite player who's not playing for their club. And just seems like such a champion as well. So that's one thing I'd love to see, the Bont be able to tick off if possible.
Yeah, agree. So Harold, so you would you take the over 13.5?
Oh, if pushed to, I would, but I'm not rushing.
I'd rather leave. Okay.
Yeah.
Leave and pray for Bont. Basically, pray for Bont to win a Brownlow. All right, mate. We've gone through all the teams in detail. Now let's go quick fire here. The future markets, and if you were having a bet, who you'd be having a bet at their current price. Premiership, you've already said Fremantle. Is there anyone else?
Brisbane Lions.
And the Brisbane Lions. Freo and Brisbane for the flag. Nice. I liked Gold Coast when they were double figures, but I don't even know if you're getting that now. In terms of a season wins multi, do we want to just say these are our best for this season? The over-unders, just a few?
Yep.
A little multi.
Go for it. Yep.
So I think that Carlton over, we both agree, over 9.5. We want.
Yep.
And then we want the Pies under is a biggie. Yep. We want Freo over and the Hawks over. Would those four, and Richmond over? That's 5.
Yeah, you could definitely work a multi out of that.
There you go.
However you want to do it.
So you could do those combinations. They're probably our 5 most confident. Is that fair to say?
Happy with that.
Yep, great. All right, now the Brownlow. Harro, they have made changes to the Brownlow voting. We all know that the umpires get a heap of stats. Now, you'll be so happy to hear this, Harro. They don't get inside 50 stats, but they do get behinds, because I know that knowing how many behinds a player has kicked is vitally important to the stats. So that's interesting. Is there any other stats that they should have that they don't have?
Well, the one that stuck out for me was not having contested possessions on there.
No, they do. That's been updated.
Oh, they do? It's been updated.
Yeah, well, it must be, because I have here kicks, handballs, disposals, marks, contested marks, tackles, goals behinds, goal assists, score involvements, clearances, contested possessions, hit-outs, kick-ins. That's an interesting one. So maybe that they will be able to go, this player had 30 disposals, but he had 12 kick-ins. So I like that. Intercept marks, intercept possessions, and spoils. But no inside 50 or rebound 50, which I find a little bit unusual. Yeah. So one other thing, I'm just having a look here. The other thing, which is very weird, looking at this sheet, is there's no disposal efficiency. But they've got behinds, so that's okay. We're okay. Player kicked 2 behinds. He had 40 disposals, but he went at 15%. But he kicked the behinds, and we know that. So that for me is weird. Anyway, that all considered, what this comes out in the wash is that we are saying, or you are very clear on, you're not betting in this Brownlow on any of the shorties. You're just looking for a couple of things at value, like Sam Walsh, who is fully fit at $51. You mentioned Sam Flanders. That's, interesting, at $101. Is there anyone else that we would look at?
I think Noah Anderson. I think they're probably, you see this a little bit, he underpolled a bit last year, and you can see a bit of a correction. And also, Matty Rowell overpolled, and you can see a reaction going back the other way. And who's going to benefit from those? Probably Noah Anderson. So he'd be a guy I think is definitely good enough. Outside of that, I'm not rushing into back too much on the Brownlow at this stage. I do think that it's funny how, the Collingwood coach had a bit of a blow-up, a bit of a meltdown about his little boy not winning the Brownlow. And now all of a sudden we've seen some big changes to the way the Brownlow is going to be.
We didn't win the best and fairest either.
Yeah, that was strange, wasn't it?
So explain that. Noah Anderson's $26, by the way. I don't know how. That is ridiculous price.
What did he start? I think on Brownlow night last year he started quite short, didn't he?
He was very short, yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, you're going to get a pretty good run with him.
You'll be able to get that'll start with a 3 on the exchange, I would have thought. Okay. Do you like anything? We spoke about Rising Star. Jagger Smith, probably too short, but we think he's going to win it. So I'm happy leaving that. But Brownlow the Coleman medal, do you have anything?
Yes, actually I did. I was quite keen on Charlie, but his prices, he's probably, it's probably fair price now. But still, I think he's probably the guy who's going to really go well. I mean, let's be honest.
Warner and Isaac Heaney kicking it down your throat. Yeah. Errol Goulden delivering the ball to you.
I mean, Charlie hasn't played in a side as good as this before, and he's won the medal twice.
Yep.
And so he's going to be very hard to beat. If you wanted to find a longer price guy, it would probably be Riley Thilthorpe, which I did well getting that name out. But he's a guy who could definitely win it as well, and he's playing for a good side. So, but outside of Charlie and Riley Thilthorpe, I think they're the two guys I'd be looking at. Darcy,
Very good, Harro.
I love Darcy. He's fantastic. $5.
$5. No, I'm with you.
Yeah.
$5. You got to see it first. Like he's had breakout games. He needs a full breakout All Australian level career. Year. If I'm taking $5, basically you have to have won the Coleman. If I'm taking $5, I think that's fair.
Yeah.
If you have never won the Coleman, $5 is too short.
Yeah.
All right, Harry, you've been great as always, mate. That'll do us for our preview. Obviously, next week we will be back with the opening round preview, just the 5 games, of course, because why would you want to kick off with 9 games of footy when you can have 5? So that'll be good fun. But Harro, mate.
Wally, I just checked, mate, and we are into our 4th season at the Footy Form Guide. 4 seasons.
There you go. 4th season. I love it. All right, we're fine. Looking forward to this year. It's going to be a great one, mate. Take it easy, and we'll see you next week.
What are you really gambling with? For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.